Okay. It's portrayed that Vanessa and the oldest child, Natalia, who looks so much like Vanessa, are very close. Is that accurate? Definitely, definitely. Yeah, definitely. What was Kobe's relationship like with his other three daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and Capri? It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. Yeah. Because they followed their mother a lot more. Like they thought everything was a joke. Everything was a joke. So like this card here, like the pink, they thought everything was a joke. But that was just manipulation. It's not as if they didn't know what he meant. Like they love to manipulate and gaslight him a lot. Okay, next question. Are the rumors true that it was hidden to the public? So I know it feels like maybe I'm rushing. That's okay because I always like to get through the questions quickly so that any information that, one thing about, let me say the myths, right? Or tarot reading. Like I remember just what I used to observe before. It wasn't really obvious. It wasn't really told. It wasn't really clear in that, like when you're reading, you're also interacting with the spirits of the people you're reading into. And some of them like to fight against the truth, like literally. I mean, there are times when I would want to do a reading on the royal family, and then I'll just shut off the device and be like, okay, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Once I've done a few incantations on myself and for myself, right? And just at them so that they'll stop trying to speak through me in a way that to manipulate me or to manipulate what I'm getting. Yeah, because one of the things that obviously I used to wonder, like, am I reading the right thing? Is it not my biases? And then what I guess the spiritual mother card sort of like indicated to me, right, is that if you think it's your biases, ask questions against your biases. Ask questions for and against your bias. Ask every question that could come up. So even when I'm speaking, I may not tell you the questions that I'm asking in my head, but I am. Like I'd be asking, why is there not more information, right? So like the question about his children, why is not more information coming through? That is because they're blocking it. But at this point, there's no need pushing for more because the general theme has come up, the crop of it, like it's come up, which is they are manipulative and have been to him. So whatever they try to hide, that could come up in the future, and I could pick that up on that in the future. But for now, it's not interesting. It's not even necessary, right? I hope that makes sense. So I might be rushing, but it's because I don't want my information to be sort of like to be prevented from coming out full flow, yeah, without me getting tired of having to just like fight through the spirits. Next question is are the rumors true that it was hidden to the public that Kobe had other kids, specifically twin boys with another woman? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So I hadn't even read that question. Yes, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. So I mean, even I know I scanned your questions, but I didn't even, and whether people believe it or not, but I don't really like keep up on Kobe's life that much. So of course I didn't really hear about like this twin boys thing. But yeah, yeah, that's what I picked up earlier. A boy being prominent. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. Next question is, if he did, I'm gonna come back to that because there's a sort of latent energy. It might be the boy that passes away. So I know I was saying about like her taking one of the children, Vanessa taking one. The child is still her child insofar as she told Kobe she was willing to receive the child and accept the child as his own by blood and her own by the covenant of marriage. So yeah, I feel like it's him, like something related to just, if it's not the girl or like the girl one of her girls, and then the boy. Yeah. Like she's not stopping. She's not stopping. Okay, next question. If he did have sorry, if he did have other kids, what was his relationship like with them and the mother? Very good, very good, very good. Like they got on like a house on fire. Very fiery, passionate. Even more passionate than his relationship with Vanessa. So yes, of course he did financially take care of the kids. Yeah. So that was your question. Next question is it true that before Kobe died, he wanted to leave the Freemasonry organization that he no, no, not at all. I don't see that at all. Like in fact, if he could come back to this plane, he would not, he would renew his in fact, it's quite the opposite. It's in him not renewing that he died. Yeah. Because Vanessa managed to get to him. She caused him to neglect his protection duties. Because like when you're in the Freemasonry, of course you protect yourself. Like the Freemason, like the motto is very much like protect yourself first. Then you can, a bit like in an aeroplane, a plane, you put on the gas, the oxygen. I was gonna say gas mask. You put on the oxygen mask first, right? On yourself before you have the strength. So for the Freemasonries, it's like do yourself, then do others, whether for negative or positive. But like do yourself positive and then do others negative. But however way it goes, do yourself positive. But he flipped that on its head. Like I think through a sense of duty, twisted duty, or maybe guilt that he wasn't there for his children's lives, he flipped it on his head, right? And there's no point being part of a society where that has a particular motto and then you live contrary to that motto. Like the layer of protection that the society is able or willing to provide to you, it's going to thin out. Like the layer of protection will thin out because you're going contrary, you're contradicting the motto, and the motto is part of what keeps them like bound to that protection level, right? So he essentially checked himself out without realizing, without knowing. But if he could come back to this state, he definitely would take it more seriously to protect himself because I was describing that because even though she's his wife, Freemasonry does not recognize that your wife comes first. Like your wife comes before you, not at all. Oh yeah, sure, let her come. She comes first, but only after you've put the mask on your own self. So don't think that um you need to take her complaints seriously if it means you're going to neglect and ignore us, right? And the contracts you've made with us. So it's not even that the Freemason attacked him and killed him. She killed him by causing him to ignore the contract. Yeah. I mean, eventually they would have attacked him anyway because they can only have so much patience. You know, like, look, we've built up this beautiful society and now you want to stand alone. So we take back everything we've given you. So kind of like that. They would have eventually gotten to him, but she got to them. But it's a bit circular. She got to him first. But then again, if she didn't get to him first, or if she didn't need to get to him first, they would never have gotten to him because he was a pretty good member, very eager, recruited so many, so many souls. Yeah. Okay, next question. Was Kobe involved in other secret societies as well? I mean, branches of the Freemasonry. Yeah, branches. Branches. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, and I'm sensing these branches, one of which is the Catholic Church. Well, not church, but the Catholic, establishment, not the church. Let me repeat myself, not the church, the establishment. Because the church consists of certain people who have no idea what is going on. They are part of the church. So saying the church would accuse them. It's not the church, it's the offshoot. So the establishment, whatever images, whatever you think of when I say the Catholic establishment, yeah, it's the offshoot of that. So he was heavily, I don't know if he was a Catholic. I'll check when I finish the reading, but in any case, he was involved. He was involved. Is it true? Next question. Is it true that Kobe was wholeheartedly trying to return? Okay, gosh, okay. I mean, I hadn't actually read that question. Is it true that he was trying to return to his Catholic faith before he died? Yeah. And also that he had gone to a Catholic church service. Yes, yes. I guess that's what I was picking up because, like, the the Catholic service is what broke that um Freemasonry protection, like the divide between the protection or the strength with his wife's strength. At that service, his wife's strength became stronger because I think he confessed a few things, not to lighten his heart, but almost like, I've got to do better for my wife. And that was all it took for her to have a leg up over the shield that the Freemasonry in the Catholic establishment was giving him. So part of that's what really contributed to the tragic energy of his death. An almost near miss, a near miss. People may not think it or even realize it because, see, when you think something, it engenders a chain of events. It starts off a chain of events. So whether people realize it or not, so his thoughts carried across the waters of the spiritual realm, in the spiritual realm. So what I'm saying is, it was only so much that he could have done, that he could do in being the perfect husband. There's no such thing as a perfect human or husband. But he was willing to play this hypocrisy with his wife. It was too much for the Catholic establishment. And he fell prey to her dragging him along in her game of hypocrisy. Yeah. What I'm trying to say, like, there's a lot of things that took place in the build up to him dying. Mainly, he was warned. So he walked into the Catholic establishment and he was told, listen, you have to come for like 3 days fasting. And when you're coming to fast, make sure you leave your phone behind. So, i.e., they did not, okay, they did. I was just wondering if they didn't know, they did. So, leaving his phone behind, meaning, implying him leaving his wife behind for 3 days. But he didn't. He took her with him. In other words, in his thoughts, even whilst they were telling him, leave your phone behind, he was saying there's no chance in hell. So, in other words, he started diminishing the power of this Freemasonry nexus on himself. And, when a person is in a coven or a society, it's like when someone says, I can only protect you if if you stay within these boundaries. If you step out or you start creeping out, I can't, that's beyond my, it's no longer my station, it's out of bounds, right? I'm not there. I don't have any jurisdiction out there. He crossed over into his wife's jurisdiction. Now, it wasn't that he did it on purpose, but what he did too, he downplayed the instructions that were given to him. So that's part of the tragic energy that his death had, in that you could have done better. I mean, can't you leave your phone at home for a few days? Like, they're literally not even telling you to leave your wife behind. They're saying for 3 days, leave it. Is it not worth it for the rest of your life being protected? So he would, again, part of the tragedy, the tragic energy, because whenever people feel certain energies, right, around a person's death, some people's deaths, it hits harder than others. That is because of all these spiritual happenings in the background. So another part of the tragedy adding up is that this protection that would have happened with him, that he would have done, would have lasted a lifetime. He was supposed to retire at like 90, so he was very, very healthy, spiritually wise. Like, again, part of the tragic energy, he had protectors. Like, he had, it's almost like people with angelic wings, but not angels, of his Freemasonry, like, and then other circles, other cults or sects as well. Like, they were there. So it was unavoidable. But what can you do? Even if 10 angels surround you, if you choose to bounce out, well, you've chosen to bounce out. Yeah. So if you choose to camouflage, which is what he did by telling in his own thoughts that he's not going to leave his phone behind, right? Well, what he ended up doing was like, by saying to himself, and not to those people. Because if he had told those people, they could have made allowances and then try to convince him that no, this is not the time because we're really seeing danger all around you. And if he had told them what he was thinking of doing, which is bringing his phone, then they would have been okay. Or rather, they would have been okay and made allowances and maybe like projected to double down on his protection. But so what I'm trying to say, they had prepared only a certain level of protection for him. So let's say a level 10 protection. Him not telling them what he was planning to do, which is dragging his wife along, it meant in the spiritual realm, the level of protection, like the length and the degree of the protection was no longer enough. It's like when you prepare a certain table for a birthday dinner, right? For people, you've prepared for 5 people, and without telling you, without letting you know, your friend invites 5 more people or 10 more people. I mean, it's so much that even if you wanted to sort of like share, it's not enough, not even nearly enough. Something that would have filled the 5 people or even 10 people to perfection. Now that there's like 15, 10 more people, they're not even full for a starter course. So not only is it not even enough for a full meal, like satisfaction, it's not even enough for a starter course, right? So I'm giving these details because it matters precisely for the way in which he passed away. It was a near miss. It's like there was a recording. Things that looking in hindsight, you would think, how did that even happen? The weather was not good. Things like these little things that you almost want to pull him back and say, what pushed you? What pushed you? It's not that he was stupid. It's not that he was blind at that moment in the physical realm, but he had blinded himself in the spiritual way before then, days before that. Yeah. So he didn't know that it would backfire. The fact that he had these thoughts to contradict the instruction that he was being told. Yeah. About leaving his phone behind. And I guess because in a way, he didn't see it as contradicting. He sort of thought it's okay because they can always make allowances, right? For me, not really following instructions to the T, to the letter. They can always make allowances, which they can. They actually can. But they could, but he didn't tell them. He only thought it. It was in his mind. And this is the power of the spiritual realm. Like when you think something, it goes ahead to interact with whatever it's supposed to interact with. And then you have a result in the physical realm. So yeah, that's what ended up happening. Let's see. Next question. Who and what was behind Kobe's cause of death? Yeah, so I've answered that already. Next question, if Kobe was murdered, why was he murdered? So I think I've answered that as well. One of the things for pleasure, So she's very Machiavellian, his wife. Pleasure. To bask in his energy, in his fire. But again, one of the things that she's realizing is that crown is not transferable. That no matter how much work she has done and however long she's been married and unified with him, that crown or the power of that crown is not transferable. So which is why she's moved on to using like Snoop Dogg's energy and his image and stuff. If she was able to transfer the power of the crown to herself, Kobe's crown, she would not need to even use Snoop Dogg. Yeah. Next question is was it on purpose that Kobe's daughter Gianna died alongside him? Yes, for the shock factor. Yeah, for the shock factor. Next question. Some people suspect that Vanessa and her mom Sophia are into black magic. Yes, yes, they are. They are. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Okay, next question. Other people suspect that Kobe's sports agent and supposed best friend, Rob Pelinka, who ended up becoming the general manager to the Los Angeles Lakers basketball team that Kobe used to play for, was one of the people behind Kobe's death. Is there any truth to no, it's mainly his wife. Yeah, it's any things, any energies that push that, it's her. It's her. Planting seeds in people's minds. So as to divert suspicion. Again, the smoke, right? Yeah. For people not to see her. And to see her only as the victim, as only the victim. Okay, next question. What do other celebrities believe happened to cause Kobe's death? They know what happened. They know. But again, because again, in my mind, actually, I'm asking to the card, like to myself, if they know, why don't they, like, why is this information not really reflected? If they actually know, they don't know how to go about it. And partially it's because, you know, the spiritual realm it's way smarter than people think or give it credit for, because the spiritual would not let these people talk, or would not give information to these people on what to do, because these people are just going to use the information to protect themselves and themselves only. And then what's going to happen over time is they'll fall back into the same trap again, because the only reason the sort of in this very very lukewarm energy when it comes to exposing things about Kobe's death is because they think, number one, it'll never happen to them. And the only reason they think that is because they think they are special, right? Which I'm actually not denying they're special. They are actually special. It's not a lie. The cards, look at this horse, it's showing they're special. Like they have energies. But then the hypocrisy is what weakens and gaslights and blinds them, and then they end up not being able to get all this information or even do much. They end up not being able to do much with the information that they have, because how can you say or claim you're special but you're not acting like you're special? Like, in what way are you special? So I'm sure you've seen people, even celebrities, right, talk about the fact that they are into spiritual things and all of that, but then you wonder, if you're into spiritual things, why don't you evolve? And I'm not talking about evolving into being a good person. I've actually come to believe there's no such thing as a good person, not at all. Like, what I'm trying to say is, if you feel that the Illuminati exists, unless you're a part of the Illuminati, in which case, why are you not denying it? Or like, why are you denying it? Why don't you protect yourself? Why don't you create your own coven or your own, like, why don't you become a master at something? But they don't. It's as if they want to, or they try to, or they play with the idea of it, but they never really get down to it. So the spiritual talents go to waste, and then they end up being like, you see, like this horse. I hope it's clear enough. The side of the horse is on the ground, and then the other side, the other feet of the ground, like the hooves, are up. So they're not stable. They're not stable. On one hand, they know the truth. So like the back of the horse, it has like three legs compared to the two at the front, right? So it's like more. They have much more knowledge of what is of the truth. So they could and should. I mean, if you know that Kobe got killed and you're a part of this spirit, like this circle, right? Let's say you're also part of the Illuminati. Surely you must realize that the Illuminati is not the only cult or the only sect or the only coven that exists. So why are you not seeking to protect yourself? Like, do you really think you might not be targeted by the very same people that targeted Kobe? But they don't think like that. It's almost as if because they think or they assume that the public, the rest of the public, does not know about spiritual things, that lack of knowledge is also going to cover them. Because, lack of knowledge can be a form of protection sometimes, but not anymore. Like the spiritual is no longer going to allow protection for people who pretend they cannot get to the truth, even though the truth is already out there. So what it means is the lack of knowledge is no longer going to be a naivety that is angelic enough to deserve protection, right? Like a baby. So what I'm trying to say is these celebrities or these people around Kobe's circle who have been like they thought they could be protected by other people not knowing what happened to Kobe. But it turns out, again, like Snoop Dogg, it's not going to happen. Like you're going to be affected. So you better stop hanging around. Even if you want to do it physically, surely you're aware that you can do something in the physical and then do the total opposite in the spiritual. As long as you own up to it, to yourself, like as long as you're aware of it to your own self, it's gonna be okay. But they hang around with the people who presumably, in quote, had a role to play, like killed Kobe. And then also they don't protect themselves from these people. Like it's almost as if they expect the rumors that this person, so like Vanessa, killed Kobe, they expect those rumors to protect them. Almost like, yeah, we know that she killed Kobe, so we're not going to say it because we know, like so like a game. We're not going to say it because we know that you, the public, know that she had a role to play, that she killed Kobe. But we're not going to tell you. But we're going to understand amongst each other that she did. But then I'm going to still hang around with her. For what reason? There's not like they don't say. But even though they don't say the reason is clear because they want to gain points. They want to gain sympathy points. They want to gain points of looking good, points of being a good person. Just kind of like that kind of righteousness and part of that is because if you gain points like of righteousness, then that elevates you enough to bring other people down. Yeah. So, but they won't acknowledge or admit that to themselves, which means they fall into the trap of hanging around with Kobe's killers without protecting themselves. Because at some point, and then the spirit realm has blinded them to this happening. At some point, these people in the public pretending they don't know the truth, it's no longer going to become like a bluish fire of protection. It would actually become a yellowish fire of destruction. So it's going to flip. What used to be protection, like naivety, is now going to become a sword or like fire to burn things down. And it's going to burn these people who stood in the middle pretending they didn't know the truth about Kobe. Yeah. And so, if fire burns things down, then whatever protection they thought they were being like, okay, I'm gonna hang next to Kobe's killer, like Vanessa, and nothing is gonna happen to me because people know. So if Vanessa ever tries to do something against me, they're gonna see it already and they're gonna shout or they're gonna warn me and I'm gonna see. Nope. Nope, nope. It's not going to happen that way because the fire, before they know it, this fire is going to burn whatever kind of bar of protection was protecting him from Vanessa's actions, right? And then she's going to pounce. She's going to pounce, and he won't be able to do. I'm saying he because I'm really seeing like I think it's Snoop Dogg again, but Snoop Dogg is a reflection of other like people in that circle who really play these games. So them thinking that they can play games, but by the time they want to do something, the fire would already have weakened them. Because when there's fire, smoke also gathers. And if a person is not aware of the smoke, they're going to start feeling dizzy before they even realize that the dizziness is because of the smoke or the fire, right? And when you're dizzy, it's very, very difficult to fight against a monster, which this woman, well, Vanessa is. So they won't be able to go against her. Okay, next question. Is it true that Kobe was oh, sorry. Next question is, did Kobe have any suspicion or knowing that he was going to die? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But again, his nonchalant attitude, lackadaisical attitude, is what really pushed him to not be able to protect himself at the last minute. Like, he became used to leaving things, spiritual things, to the last minute. Yeah. He became confused with the confused, it's a stretch. He sort of, I think, started taking it for granted. The stretch, the time zone between spiritual, like the spiritual realm, the time zone, and the time zone of the physical realm. The time zone of the spiritual realm is like instantaneous. Like, if you say something or you think something, it stretches out. Even before you even, it may take months or years for it to appear, but nonetheless, it has gone. And if it goes and it meets another power, like a fuel that was ready to amplify whatever you were thinking or saying, well, then the results are going to be even quicker and faster. And that's what he did. Except he did not anticipate that the fire that his wife had already prepared the fuel and fire to accentuate whatever words he was thinking or saying to himself about the spiritual realm. So he did know he was going to die, but because he didn't gauge the timeline or the time zone, it caught up on him quicker than he would have thought. Next question. Is it true that Kobe was worth 600 million? Yes, 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 and so much more. Like a billion? Yeah, like a billion. Because of course that's what they do with these institutions, like the covens and like the Catholic institution and stuff. They pull their resources together and then they divide it in a way that is magnified. Yeah, like investments and the like. Like even investments, I'm saying like in child trafficking, so it's not talking of dirty money. There is blood. There's blood to it. But it's only a part. Like there's so much more, so many things. Buildings, investments, farmland, all of that. Yeah. So but they'll never say just how much they're worth. Because of course they're gonna have to talk about who is holding that worth. Not holding in a negative way. They're actually very generous with each other or like kind with each other. Partly because if they're not kind with each other, then they'll destroy themselves. Like they'll destroy each other. These covens, these calls. Because I mean, if your power is in like a protective bubble, then and that protective bubble is created by, let's say, like people holding hands spiritually, then if you weaken one of the people holding your hand or holding hands on one side of the circle, then what do you think is going to happen? The person is going to drop their hand or get down to their knees, and that is going to lower the barrier of protection. And then all of a sudden, you know, your enemies or the world can see what you are and see your weaknesses and how to target you. Next question. Is it true that Kobe did not trust his wife Vanessa with money? Uh yes, he didn't, and also he did. The part where he did is in the in the spiritual in the spiritual realm. He didn't. Hmm? No, in the spiritual realm he did. He just didn't realize the extent to which he did. So again, he played so many games with himself. Like he wasn't honest. When I say play games, when I say people play games, I mean they're not honest about where they stand, about who they are. And again, I want to be when I say they're not honest, I don't mean they're not honest to other people. You don't have to be honest to other people. Like they're not you. They're not your life. They don't live your life. So the spiritual realm is not about like you exposing yourself to others. No. They are not honest with themselves. Like if you want to cherish yourself, you are part of yourself. You are yourself. And what makes up who you are is your intuition, right? So if you insult your own intelligence by not being honest with yourself, like, okay, I don't trust this woman, but I'm going to pretend I do. So, in other words, you're admitting to yourself that you're pretending. It's okay. You're doing it for your reasons, several reasons. It's okay. As long as you're admitting it to yourself rather than pretending that you're not, rather than pretending that you actually do trust her. When your spirit deep down, it knows that you don't, right? So if you insult your intelligence, there's gonna get a point to there's going to get to a point where you've insulted your own intelligence so much that your intelligence starts insulting you right back. And then your intuition starts dying off. It gets lowered because your intelligence is part of your intuition, right? It's like, oh, sure, you want to make fun of me? I'm trying to tell you that, okay, since we both know that, i.e., you and me, like the intuition talking to the person, since we both know that this woman is not trustworthy, since we both know that you still love her or you don't want to ruin your image, here's what we're going to do. Let's make plans, right? So that's the way his intuition will try to talk to him. But he, in his hypocrisy, he would dismiss his intuition and pretend like, I don't distrust her. I trust her. So a very much sanctimonious, self-righteous feeling. I mean, his intelligence and his his intuition, they're both going to become offended because it's like, we are your real person. Like, who are you deceiving us for? Like, your wife can't see in your thoughts unless you let her, or unless, I don't know, whatever happens. But why are you lying to us? Like, your innermost thought, we can see your innermost thoughts. Don't lie to us, tell us so we can protect your vision, your intelligence, so that you're always going to be steps ahead of her or ahead of whoever she sends after you, but you don't want to be honest. So we're going to let go until you see what you do see, which is the truth, but you're not going to see how to get out of it. Yeah. So it's kind of like that. So it ties to the money, your question about the money, and also the fact of how he died, how he was not able to pull back from the accident in due time because, like the playing games, it slows down a person's reflexes, both spiritually and then mentally, which therefore affects the things they do physically. They overlook mistakes, they overlook warning signs in the physical. Yeah. So yeah, with regards to his money, he didn't actually trust her, but he did. He made sure that he did he made sure he imposed that trust to his mind, to himself in the physical. Okay, so you asked about her being someone in his will, someone else in his will, that someone else would be the executor of his estate. That Vanessa would only receive a fraction of his money. I don't see that. Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, that only shows how far he deceived himself, that he didn't set up these things. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have. And if he did, she wouldn't be so gleeful. She wouldn't see it as such an easy task to take him out if he had actually shown some suspicions about her and reflected that in his finances. So he didn't hold anything from her. He didn't. In his delusion and deception, he actually thought he did. He was holding things from her, but he didn't. He didn't. Now, next question. If true, yeah, no, 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 he didn't. He didn't. Yeah. So next question. Was Kobe very controlling of how Vanessa accessed and was able to spend money? Yeah, he was. He was. Okay, of how Vanessa accessed and was able to spend money while they were married. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was. He was. He was controlling. But not more than her though. Like she's very much what you so this is like a ring, right? But like fire. What you can do, I can do so much more. Yeah. So next question. What was the reason behind the shattering of Vanessa's relationship with her mom Sophia after Kobe died? It never really got shattered. That was for attention. That was for attention. Again, like a tree, the fire, right? The fire that his death blew up, like started, she used it to create a tree and so much more. Yeah. So it wasn't really ever like it wasn't real. Real to the extent that a bit like with the royals. I mean, I've mentioned it before, whereby They can criticize each other in public, but deep, deep down, like categorically, they're with each other. Yeah. So it's like that. Okay, next question. Will Vanessa and her mother ever repair the relationship? Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. It is repaired already. But only if the mother wants to. She could flip from one day to the other. But again, actually, funnily enough, that's something that Vanessa wants to put a stop to. She doesn't want to be like a tree that is at the mercy of her mother's fire, right? Of her mother's fire. She really wants to be like, okay, next time you do this, I know I'm gonna crush you. You're not gonna be able to pull these cards on me. Yeah. The cards meaning, stuff in the spiritual realm, the witchcraft. Her mother is a much more, let me say, crafty witch than she is. Next question. How are Kobe's daughters, Natalia, Blanca, and Capri, coping with Kobe's death? They're okay. Like, I'm genuinely getting that they're okay. I mean, like I said before, they're not like the human image. They're not children. They're not children. They have their covens as well. Next question. Does the oldest child, Natalia, who is now college age, suspect foul play with her dad's death? She does, but she can't do much about it at all. Yeah, she can't. Because her mother would fight her in the realm of the spirit. Yeah. Yeah. Again, like this card, she's very much coming up top. Like, even as I'm continuing with the reading, Vanessa's energy is really like, stop it, stop it. Like, I'm his wife, I'm his wife. Using the same baseless arguments, like a ring, right? I'm his wife, stop it, stop it. And then sort of adding fire to that ring, like to his wife. So don't look at me. Otherwise you'll get burnt or something like that. But obviously I don't care much for her threats. Uh okay, next question. How is Vanessa coping with Kobe's death? So I think I've answered that pretty much. She's fine. I mean, she's doing a lot of things to piggyback off of that death. Yeah. So kind of like this, like the first death and then the second one, right? She doesn't want to let it go. She wants to keep milking this ball. Next question. Are all the friends who were very supportive of Vanessa Bryant after Kobe died still being supportive? Yes, they are. Yeah, so I guess that touches on your questions. I mean, your questions are pretty accurate. Yeah, they're supportive, but like I was describing earlier on a few questions ago, supportive only because they want to protect themselves. Next question. Will Vanessa ever remarry? Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see death as well. Like this, if it doesn't backfire, I'll be very surprised. It's like she wants it to backfire. Yeah. She wants these. So it's like she wants to knock down, right? The first one child and then another one. And then after that, her life gets taken, right? Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I did say she plans things like really craftily. She wants to take one child, the second child, and then her life gets taken. Maybe like through a same accident. Just so that a bit like the queen. I mean, okay, it's very spiritual, like a send off. The bigger a person's death is, the more fire, the more entities it involves. It's almost like they land in a much stronger, a much better position in the next life, or so she thinks. That was the case before, but not now that the spiritual realm is opening. So she's deluding herself. And the reason I'm seeing her doing this is because of her mother. She wants to launch like her death, and then the thing she doesn't want to end up having the same knowledge of this her mother. She wants to have a higher knowledge when she crosses over to the other side. Yeah. Another lifetime, another paradigm. Yeah. Um So, but remarrying, I mean, it's very like, marriage, then death, marriage, and then death, or vice versa. If somebody strong enough goes after her and attacks her. Let me see. Next question. It was reported that Kobe was estranged from his parents and two sisters for quite some time, even before his death. It's categorically true, yeah. If so, what was the reason of the estrangement, Vanessa? Next question. How are Kobe's parents and sisters coping with his death? So Vanessa being that just it's not so much in what she says, it's what she is, like her presence. Like, if you have someone who is dating someone with this kind of face, very Machiavellian, right? Of course you're going to run away because wherever you turn, like she creeps up, if she creeps up behind you in a house, there are many people in the house where she creeps up behind you. I mean, you're gonna jump, you're gonna jump, and that's what she's like. Yeah, that's what she's like. So it's them staying away from the bad vibes that they get. Let's see. Next question. How are Kobe's parents and sisters coping with his death? Not very good. Yeah, on the other hand, it's them that are suffering. Yeah. Next question. Do they think that Kobe was murdered? Yes, they do. So this card here, these two cards coming out, yeah. The malevolence, and then this one right here, which is like spiritual. So, like smoke again, right? And then being in water and surrounded by nature, like the crown, the green, the leaves, everything indicates nature, natural. What is natural? The spiritual realm, despite what the world has tried to do, the spiritual realm is the most natural space for any human being and any creature, like regardless of what the world has tried to do. So, I mean, in fact, the opposite of that thinking is actually the gaslighting that the world has um successfully to some extent like tried to done on people. So in saying that, having said that, they've indulged, they've dived into spiritual things, spiritual elements, right? So like smoking, they smoke. Maybe not physical, like in the spiritual realm, like the smoking is to enable them to see the shape of the smoke. So, like what we're seeing in the physical realm, is it the same thing in the spiritual? Like, are we really seeing, does this smoke really look like the shape of this smoke? Does it really look like a spoon that has a devil's image, like a devilish figure, right? Or are we imagining it? Yeah, so kind of like that. But they're pretty, so that's the way of coping. Seeing her true colors is the way of coping. So they are doing pretty good. I mean, I know what I just said. They're not doing good in coping with his death, but when it comes to feeling good, they are, because they're realizing what kind of thing or being she is and has been. So it's almost like reassuring to them that they did not imagine it and that they did not kill their son. Yeah, because that's something that she really pushes her energy. Or her coven, like they killed their son, they killed him. Almost, some people would say things like he was miserable, he was sad because his family didn't really get along with his wife. So what did they expect? Of course, he wasn't going to be careful. Kobe should have been careful, but he wasn't because his mind was distracted. All these things that point an arrow at them, like a tennis ball, right? Like it swings the blame back and forth. And she was on the winning side, but now she's on the losing, just for them, at least for them, because they're realizing that it was them. So it's giving them a sense of relief that it's not them who killed him. Yeah. So they're doing good in that, like they're really doing good in that. It's really, really helping them. Um, okay, next question. Why do Kobe's parents and sisters not go? So I think I answered the question about who they think murdered him, right? So next question, why did Kobe's parents and sisters not go on stage and speak during his public celebration? Yeah, I think you know that. You know why. Yeah. Very obvious reason. They didn't want to. And because of the fire, that was burning underneath. So by that time, they had already gotten into the esoteric, and they knew what was at play. In other words, like they knew that she's not a child because she gives off that appearance sometimes, but they knew that she's not a child. Like no matter how much the mourning, the tears, like the mourning, the funeral vibe is giving of her being covered up as a child, she's not. She's a grown woman who is even able to smoke. And look, we can see it. Smoke, i.e., smoke him, like should kill him, right? Or burn him, hence the smoke. And in the most natural, again, the water, nature, the leaves, in the most natural way possible. So we have to be careful. We have to. So they didn't even play about. They didn't, unlike their friends, unlike his friends, like they didn't even, the parents didn't even play about in, oh, we're with her, we're with her. No, they were like, no, categorically, because they knew maybe not exactly, but they got an idea, an inclination of we can't play, we can't play, we can't even pretend to play. Yeah. Okay, next question. It appears that Vanessa now has a positive relationship with Kobe's sisters. Yeah, that's a mirage. Like she's using their image. Yeah, I know what I just said, but like she's using their image because initially they dismissed any and every idea of her being the culprit. So again, that's what happens. Like when things happen, it's better to say, I don't think so, and I don't want to believe it. It's better to even say, I don't want to believe it, than to say, I don't believe it. Like you're dismissing a reality that is true, and you're turning the actual reality into a Mandela effect, right? And that Mandela effect is going to become more blurry. And if that is allowed, then that gives even more room. So, like, if one reality is shifted, right? You shift one reality for another, then the vacuum that is created by that life, that reality being shifted, it gives more room for whoever is ruling in that other reality to take position. And she, Vanessa, of course, was the one ruling in that reality that is still there present. So that's why she was able to take advantage of the images. But I don't see any connection with her and his sisters, Kobe's sisters. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. Okay, so last question. Did Kobe leave any money to his parents and sisters? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah. So let me see one last thing, because there's this energy of like she wants to threaten me. This Vanessa of a person. But I don't even mind. Like I honestly don't. Yeah. Yeah, I honestly don't. I'm actually like, I'm like an egg. Anything that comes, like it just bounces and then it turns into fire, more fire for me. So, uh, bring it on. Yeah, like she's the reason why the energy, like my energy was so low and at the same time heavy, because she's just so adamant, like she doesn't want to know. And I was like, just because you don't want to know doesn't mean I don't want to know, and other people, right? Because this also involves other people, but she was trying to pretend that it's her life, and it's her ring, like it's her life, it's her ring, it's her commitment. And I could not, or we could not possibly know anything to do with him or her, right? And it's them, it's the union. They have their own secrets, but secrets will always be revealed through tarot cards. So I don't know what she's talking about. Yeah. That's the energy. That's the energy. Any more questions, feel free after this reading. But I think I've answered it pretty much.